Welcome back to another video with myself, Alex Connor, as always from Fearless Training. And I'm getting into the Christmas jingle, the Christmas spirit, but today we're going to be talking about nutrition and fundamentally how you can overcome the festive season or any occasion for that matter and still maintain, increase and possibly enhance your physique. There's probably a couple of thoughts running through your head like how? What food am I going to eat for Christmas? I still need to get all my Christmas shopping. Inappropriate gift ideas. Is Santa even real? But there's a couple of points that I want to make which have helped me and some strategies and some knowledge that you can implement to get a better feel for it, to get a better mind frame of it so that you can overcome all of these occasions and go forth and actually eat and enjoy the seasons and still stay on track and make progress. Because let's face it, if this is a lifestyle and you want to do this long term, there's always going to be an event, a birthday, a wedding, Christmas, Easter, and you've got to be able to understand how you can still stay on track, manipulate and make these situations work to your advantage, because otherwise you're just going to miss out and you can't just avoid eating and avoid these social situations because you're not going to enjoy yourself and other people are not going to enjoy the company either. Now, yeah, if you're in competition prep and you've got a dedicated time and a goal, fair enough, sometimes you have to be a bit strict. However, there's always a way around it, there's always some flexibility, and that's going to depend on what phase you're in your training and how knowledgeable you are and how many calories ultimately you can and have and make to play with. So let's get into it. Point number uno. Calories in versus calories out. This is going to be the fundamental ethos of obviously the whole video and being able to eat and fit foods into your macronutrients, and it's going to depict your body composition. So calories in, calories out is really, really simple. It's energy balance, right? It's if we are expending more calories than we're intaking, we are going to lose weight, and if we're intaking more calories than we're expending, we're going to gain weight, okay? And then somewhere thereabouts, we've got our maintenance. So with this in mind then, that means that we can manipulate our intake, especially around these festive seasons or seasons of high calorie foods and meals to our advantage. So what we're probably going to do is we're going to save a lot of these calories for these bigger meals because we know they're going to be coming, whether that's Christmas Day, Boxing Day, New Year's Day, whatever it is that you do in your home, your family, your tradition. You want to be saving some of these or the main amount of your calories around these meals. We've also got training and activity. Now, generally this is a time of year where, yeah, we can be a little bit lazy, but we may have some time to actually go and train. We might be going on family outings, walks. You might get a bike for Christmas. I don't know, you might go out for a bike ride or something like that. So we can also offset our energy balance and become more active too. Now, sure, if you are someone who works a lot and this is a time for you to relax, definitely relax. But it's also an opportunity to get out, spend time with friends, family, and again, just get moving. We've got to factor that in because that means, again, we might have some more calories to actually play with. But fundamentally, it's manipulating and offsetting the energy in and the energy out and making it work to our advantage. Point number two. Refeeds and cheat meals. Refeeds and cheat meals, you've probably heard of these. Refeeds we've got is a purposeful increase mainly through the macronutrient carbohydrates, usually implemented in a fat loss or a dieting phase for a competition to aid and increase the potency of fat loss, if you like. Bit rude, mate. Trying to film the video. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Well done. Get 'em. There is no magic in refeeds, but They are there to increase and enhance, again, the performance so we can actually train better, we can have more mental clarity and focus. And again, we know that through studies, having refeed days, usually double-day refeeds, can help us actually move and mitigate fat because they replenish carbohydrate stores, allow us to train more effectively, reduce stresses in the body, and ultimately allow us to continue on our fat loss journey, which is fantastic. Cheat meals, on the other hand, a little bit bro sciencey, something that you probably implement in off season. It's a little bit more lavish. We don't necessarily need them. It can be termed as flexible dieting, but again, this could be something that if you're in a gaining phase, you might call it a cheat meal or a free meal, and you might use a refeed or manipulate this into your refeed days if you were in a dieting phase. So for example, if you have a competition coming up in season A or this time of the year or coming up at the start of the year, you might choose these days to put your refeeds into so that you have more calories, mainly through carbohydrates on these days. Even though you might have to still watch fat levels, it'll still give you a little bit more flexibility and a lot more enjoyment around these days with your family and to be able to eat these foods that you want to eat. And if it's a cheat meal, then hey, go ham, right? Because that's what a cheat meal is. And if you've got a lot of calories to play with and you're in the off season, it's probably going to do you a little bit better to get those extra calories in with some heavy training, rest and recovery. Point number 3. Fitting it in your macros. How do you fit it in your macros? Well, we can borrow calories and macros from other days, but before we delve into that point, you'd be surprised at how many things you can actually fit in your macros if we use tools like MyFitnessPal, and if you do have an amount or a certain amount of calories to play with. If you are someone who's on very high calories, you might find that you can fit most of these foods in, depending on your appetite, within these macronutrients. You can also rearrange the macros as well. So for example, say you have 200 grams of protein a day, you have 400 grams of carbs and 80 grams of fat. You might choose to reduce your protein intake on this day and increase your carbohydrate and fat levels, ultimately all equaling out to the same amount of calories. Now, for a short period of time, or 1 to 2 days, it's not going to have a massive impact on your body composition, but it does give you a bit more flexibility and freedom rather than having such a high protein intake on one day. It's not going to be enough to have a detrimental effect, but it's also going to give you a bit more flexibility because, let's face it, the best foods are filled with carbohydrates and fat, and I'm guessing on this festive season there's going to be a lot of desserts and a lot of high calorie, high fat meals which you're probably going to want to indulge in a little bit more. However, if you are someone who is dieting, then you've got to make some sensible decisions. This is where you might go for the higher protein option and the lower fat option. So again, when you're going around and you're picking these meals out, you might decide to load up on a little bit more protein rather than fat, because as we know, protein is going to satiate hunger that little bit more. And also, if you are dieting, you can't afford to have those super high fat levels. But carbohydrates you could also raise as well, again, to fall in line with a refeed period. So again, it's all a puzzle. Calories in, calories out. How many calories have you got to play with? Fit and rearrange your macros as you like within your allocated calories. And again, saving them for later in the day or whenever it is you have your festive meal is going to allow you to have a bigger bank or a bigger allowance, if you like, to spend these calories more wisely. Point number 4, common sense. Not so common anymore. Called health and safety. Now, in terms of common sense, what I mean by that is you know what's high fat, you know what is high calorie, and you know what is low calorie for the most part. Most people have a general census. If I say we have a cheeseburger and an apple, which is high calorie and which is low calorie, most people are going to say the cheeseburger is high calorie and the apple is low calorie. So when you are migrating yourself around the table of the festive season, picking out foods that might be a little lower in calorie, again, if you're in a dieting phase or if you really want to watch what you eat, versus picking out the higher calorie foods if you're in a gaining phase or you just don't really care and you just want to eat the foods. Again, keep this in mind. You might go, okay, well, I know that the veg and the salads and the lean meats are going to be a better option if I want to stay on the leaner side of life, and I might only have one slice of pie versus having the whole pie. Little things like that make a big difference to body composition over time, especially when you're doing these daily habits and you're making these decisions on a daily basis. It all comes down to how many calories you've got to play with and what are your current goals right now. If you're in an off season, then of course you're going to have more flexibility. But remember, common sense. Point 5. Borrowing calories from other days. Borrowing calories and macros. So you can actually borrow calories and macronutrients from other days. And again, like I mentioned previously, you can even borrow them from the same day by rearranging your actual totals. For example, reducing protein, increasing carbohydrates, and increasing fat, etc. But you can also borrow calories and macronutrients from other days as well. Now, my advice is if you know that there is a big meal coming up and you're someone who is more predispositioned to add body fat, or again, you're in a dieting phase, or you just want to be a little bit more conservative, you might remove 100 to 200 calories from the previous days or the previous week leading up into the festive season, or whenever it is you're going to have a big meal, to have a bigger bank or a bigger allowance of calories when it comes to that day. For example, if you saved over say 6 days, 100 calories, that's going to give you another 600 calories for that day. If you save up, say 100, 200, 300, maybe even 400, you're going to have a lot of calories to play with. However, I would advise not borrowing more than 10% of your calories per day, as if you borrow too many, you're just going to get hungry and you're going to end up overeating on that day. And also, you might not have enough calories or energy to sustain a productive training session if you're taking your training seriously. Keep that in mind. This is a little bit more advanced, but again, you can manipulate this by using my MyFitnessPal and the tools that we've got to be able to calculate how many calories you currently have, how many calories you can borrow, and how many calories you can actually utilize and have left over for these bigger meals. Point 6, consistency. It's what you do most of the time that counts. So this is the bottom line. At the end of the day, do not stress it. One meal won't make you shredded and one meal won't make you fat. Now, if you're someone who's consistently binging and eating all the time and you're adding weight, then of course this is a bad habit and you're probably gonna put on weight. Go figure. However, if you're making conscious decisions and now and again you're having these higher calorie meals, or say you're just going and having a cheat meal or a free meal, then this is a little bit better. It's also a better habit to get into as well. But again, you might be someone fortunate like myself who has a fast metabolism and trains a lot, so you can have a very high calorie intake and put on or add minimal amounts of fat. Again, it all comes down to you, your calories, and your requirements. You've got to make it work for you as well. The main thing I want you to take out of this video is that you can use points and use strategies and knowledge to manipulate your nutrition to make it work better for you. But at the end of the day, it is Christmas, so enjoy yourself, align with your goals, and make sure that you're going to make the most of this time. Don't overthink it. Eat, be merry, and as always, stay fearless.